Hey everyone, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about major US tech companies because apparently they're ignoring Europe's data privacy laws, and that's getting them into trouble. Now, this is very interesting, and here's what's going on. Austrian privacy campaigner Max Schrems said companies like Facebook and Netflix have shockingly poor compliance to Europe's data privacy laws. Now, if you didn't know, the Court of Justice in the European Union, or the CJEU, ruled in July that essentially the data arrangement that was set up in 2016 between the United States and Europe, called Privacy Shield, was invalid under Europe's privacy framework because of concerns about surveillance from U.S. companies. Now, the ruling effectively ends the privileged access that U.S. companies such as Facebook had to personal data from European citizens, and it puts the country on a similar footing, rather the United States, to other nations outside the European Union, meaning data transfers are basically going to be facing closer scrutiny. Now, a survey conducted by Max Schrems' digital rights group, NOYB, which is short for None of Your Business, I like that, covered 34 companies. Now, most of these companies were American, but some were based in the EU and Britain, which obviously is going through Brexit, so is now considered separate in this survey from the EU. Now, exercising the right of customers to ask companies how their data is handled under EU's GDPR, or General Data Protection Regulation, the survey drew a mixed bag of responses. Some firms, some tech companies or firms, did not respond, and others gave misleading answers. Now, according to Schrems, and I quote, the responses ranged from detailed explanations to admissions that these companies have no clue what is happening to shockingly aggressive denials of the law. NYOB said that rental platform, for example, Airbnb, streaming service Netflix, and Facebook's chat app WhatsApp did not reply, while other companies referred to privacy policies that did not address the questions that were asked in the survey. Not that these organizations, for the record, have to actually respond to them. NYOB is not a government entity within the EU, nor is it sanctioned. Nevertheless, if you are trying to conduct business and these people have sway in the EU, it would make sense to be transparent and honest with them, especially if you're adhering to this. Now, business collaboration platform Slack, for example, which is used by many businesses for inter-office communication, said it would not voluntarily pass on user data to the U.S. authorities, failing to address concerns that Washington has the legal power to conduct targeted surveillance of non-U.S. citizens overseas. This is actually something that Edward Snowden had talked about in 2013, 2014 with the PRISM Project and all of that. If I, let's say in the United States, call a person of interest overseas, the NSA, for example, has had the ability, although technically now they're supposed to not have that ability, to actually record who I am calling, not my conversation, but the metadata surrounding it. And I think that's one of the concerns. Schrems also went on to say, overall, we were astonished by how many companies were unable to provide little more than a boilerplate answer. The companies did not provide answers largely, largely are simply not complying with the CJEU judgment. It seems that most of the industry still does not have a plan as to how to move forward. Now, I think this is probably true of a lot of US companies that are global in their presence, thinking online platforms that are used by millions or billions of people worldwide, only in the sense that, as I've talked about on this podcast and this video and on my radio show, we, the United States of America, is lagging behind in data privacy protections from a lot of the world, whether it's the GDPR in Europe or Canada or Australia and on and on. We are behind, and so by virtue of that, the largest tech platforms on the world, most of which are sitting in the United States, have no real reason. Now, the GDPR is different in the sense that, one, if these companies like Google, Facebook, etc., actually want to do business in the European Union, they are required to comply to disclosure laws, security laws, encryption laws, as well as the right to be forgotten. And we really don't have that here in the United States. with the exception at the moment of California that enacted the CCPA, and I've literally been on air on news networks talking about that. That is obviously a very good step forward here. But as we have 50 states, if every state is doing the hodgepodge kind of their own GDPR or own CCPA, that is going to be an absolute nightmare for the Facebooks of the world that want one uniform platform from the federal government of the United States that says this is what data security looks like or data privacy looks like for your users. And that is probably not going to happen under the current administration and the makeup of the current U.S. Senate that has been very forthright in blocking advanced data privacy and cybersecurity laws from passing the Senate, specifically as it relates to the election. We've had no security enhancements pass the Senate for election security, which is outrageous to me, in that sense. But if we are looking at this holistically, the American citizens need to have this because that will force the Facebooks and the Googles of the world to then comply to something that would be more in line with the GDPR. At this point, it seems like, according to this survey and also this ruling by the CJEU, U.S. companies are paying lip service and the European Union is concerned about U.S. corporations and by virtue of that, possibly the U.S. government, data mining their citizens. And so they are going to be scrutinizing us, which possibly slows down commerce. It slows down these platforms. It potentially has some deep ramifications to how we, as a country, communicate with one of our closest allies, which is the EU, and obviously all of its member countries. So that is your news of the day. It's food for thought, but it's a little concerning. And if anything, this should be a call to the major tech platforms to really start tightening up their data and privacy controls and actually giving this to us. I think that's an important consideration, and here we are. And that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.